name's Joel, and this is all the pottery that I made this past month or so. I have all the pots out in the sunshine so we can see all the glazes, and there are two different bodies of artwork, kinda. It's actually more than that, but I put them together in what we call a grab bag sale, where it's just like this random smattering of pottery, and it lets us put more pottery out at lower prices, so we don't have to have everything photographed, because we shoot tens of thousands of photographs every year just to get the pottery and all the colors. Like one little vase like this, we'll have to take 4 or 5 photographs of it to sell an individual vase through our online store. But in a grab bag sale, we can put all the pottery together, and then it's random, but you're getting a better deal for in a lower price because it's just a random batch of pottery. So I made 2 different grab bag batches. The first one is vases. So these are little orb-shaped vases. They're actually inspired by the planet Pluto. The New Horizons spacecraft flew past Pluto a few years ago, and it had this heart shape on it, just on the geology of the dwarf planet Pluto, the former planet Pluto. And so I made some that are bluish, some that are reddish, because it was kind of multicolored in the image that came back from that satellite. And so most of these are these kind of heart-shaped vases. Sorry, big truck. Tractor. It's like a tractor sprayer. Anyways, these marks here are for my finger, so I threw this on the pottery wheel, and then I used my fingernails to make the heart shape. And so like those are my fingernails. And then I carved and pressed in with chopsticks and shish kebab sticks and a rounded piece of wood to make the crater designs. And the inside is just a simple black glaze poured and then poured out, and I let a little drip form on, I think, every single one of these, just kind of to show the process. Like on the bottom, I use my finger to create the foot ring so it sits flat on a table. These need to get polished, so something like that will get polished off. Some of these were still fresh from the kiln as we put them on the table, so we have a lot of polishing left. So anyways, the first one is a mountain and kind of orb grab bag, only vases at a lower price, and there's some bigger vases in here too. These would work well as oil diffusers too. I'm not selling the oil and the sticks, but if you pour like scented oil with sticks coming out, and then every time you want some scent, you flip the sticks and it dispenses oil. They work really well for that with the small top. I'm sure the mountain ones would work too, because the oil doesn't evaporate as quickly. And these have a bluish glaze, and when it gets thinner, it's lighter blue, thicker, it's darker blue. And then I took some of a very thin wash of black and just sponged to represent some clouds very simply. And then there's a circle to represent a sun or a moon. And some of these get a little funky, like Sienna was just saying. She wasn't sure what to think about that one. Thinking with the outer space theme, yeah, you remember in Star Wars when, I know it's not real, but when Luke Skywalker is looking over the horizon on Tatooine and there's a double sunset, or a double sunrise or double sunset. I was doing these and I'm like, why don't I put a second one on? Like, what would happen? It would be kind of like, because suns, double suns that orbit each other, when you look up at the sky, about 50, I think this is right, you can check me on this, about 50% of all the stars are actually double stars. So if you're seeing a star in the night sky, half of them are a double star system orbiting each other. So it's like, this is a mountainish kind of landscape, but adding a second sun makes it not Earth, makes it a mountain somewhere else in the universe. Not in our solar system, but some other solar system maybe. Not even a fictional one, or maybe it's Tatooine, I don't know. Okay, let's move on. The second, I call the second body of artwork in the second grab bag one is a little higher price, more high end. It's only bowls and mugs. And all of the mugs are either mountain mugs or moon mugs. And this was fun because I could just get crazy with the colors and the textures. So this one has a bluish glaze and a reddish glaze all underneath the black. That I dip this in as a dry black glaze, then wipe it off. And this is all totally dishwasher and microwave safe, but it can be dry because it's non-porous. It's vitrified. In pottery, that just means it does not absorb liquid because it's fired to 2,300 degrees Fahrenheit, so the clay becomes non-porous. It's not a glossy texture that makes things food safe. It's being non-porous, being non-absorbent. And just a simple black interior, and then this is another interesting darkish kind of blue-green that is actually the same glaze as this one, except you see how it changes color when it's put underneath a clear glaze. And then this clear glaze is a different recipe than this clear glaze, which makes the blue change color again, which is interesting. This one has a little bit of crackle because the clear glaze was thicker. That's called crazing. A little bit of natural crackling in the glaze. And this one doesn't, and it's much thinner. Thinner glaze means it just has a little more texture to the pot. The bowls. So this is the first time I've ever done, I'm doing a project. I'm still working on these neon cosmic mugs, a new color palette of my outer space cosmic glaze is what I call it. And since I'm making so many of these neon cosmic mugs that I have to fulfill for a September pre-order, I decided to do the interior of bowls in this color combo. So it's an oil spot black, an ash glaze. The blue glaze has wood ashes in it, which just give more complexity. I mix all the glazes from scratch, except the neon that I don't mix from scratch, but it gives me really bright color. So that's one of the pots in this grab bag sale. So it's just random. For this one, you might get a mug, or you might get like a big lunar bowl. I see a Pluto mug in here. This one is really nice. It's got the kind of Hokusai inspired wave by the Great Wave by Hokusai, a printmaker in Japan in the 1700s, 1800s. I think in the 1800s he was a printmaker in Japan, the Great Wave. So I was thinking a little bit about that. And then this is the texture for my fingernails. And then the other side is inspired by the geology of Pluto. And I think this was not my fingernails. That was a rock, a lava rock that I pressed in. I rolled the lava rock on the surface when the clay was still soft. And I gotta polish that one too to get the little kiln wash off. A lot of these came literally from the kiln to this table, so they're brand new. Reddish bowl. And what else? Last but not least, I've been putting quotes that inspire my art on some of my pots. So there are two quotes here. One of them is by Albert Einstein. I guess I'll read that one first. And it says, "Curiosity is its own reason. Aren't you in awe when you contemplate the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure behind reality? And this is the miracle of the human mind, to use its constructions, concepts, and formulas as tools to explain what we see, feel, and touch. Try to comprehend a little more each day. Have holy curiosity." So I had to plan these where I would do texture and leave 3 spots for the quote. So I had to think ahead when I was doing the texture, and then there's a second quote that I'm looking for. Curiosity, or these are all, no, here it is. Is that one? So there's a second quote that it's widely attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson. And when I started to look into it, I realized that's not exactly true. I mean, you can go on Amazon and buy posters, or Walmart and buy posters with this quote on it, and it says Ralph Waldo Emerson. I think that's just because it's like a fancy, like a 3 name that everyone recognizes. But the reality of this quote, when I started to look for the source, is it's closer to a quote by a poet who wrote it in the early 1900s. Her name's Bessie A. Stanley, and it's not even identical to hers. It's been adapted and changed over time. The tractor? Another tractor, let's wait. A red one. Nice. This is a rural pottery studio, if you can't tell.
It's not suburban.
Suburban?
Rural suburban-ish.
Ish. Where was I? Ralph Waldo Emerson. So he didn't say this, but he lived a generation before Bessie A. Stanley. And what I was able to find is that she was in some of the same circles that he had been in, that she was inspired by a lot of his writing. He wrote a book called On Success, and this quote was not in it, but there are phrases that rhyme, that kind of feel similar. And it's been changed and adapted so much in history that I was introduced to this quote at a friend's father's funeral. It was part of the eulogy, and I thought it was just so beautiful. It's about success, and I attribute it to both of them, Ralph Waldo Emerson and Bessie A. Stanley, but it's a quote about success. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. And so I put Bessie A. Stanley and Ralph Waldo Emerson. Even though truly neither one said it, but it's been changed and adapted over time, and I just think that's really cool. And the inside's supposed to represent a spinning galaxy, like a spiral galaxy, like our Milky Way. And these will be available on CherricoPottery.com. That's a good one. It's got iron oxide and the black stain. So it's a little toasty brown. Thanks for watching.